Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be back inside the Progetto 46, and I'd also like to say a massive thank you to all of you for the response and the comments and also just your feedback with the amount of likes and dislikes on my videos that I post on Thursday and Friday. I really appreciate it, and I did spend a long time reading through all the comments. You might have noticed that I tried to reply to a few of them. Can't promise I'm able to do that every single time. I really try to read all of my comments, but now when there's like hundreds, if not thousands of them every day, it's starting to get more and more challenging, right? Anyway, we're back with the Tier 8 Italian auto reloading medium tank, and if you don't know anything about this vehicle, well, you obviously missed probably one of my most, should we say, involving and videos that I put so much effort into from Friday, so I recommend going and checking that out if you want to know absolutely pretty much everything there is to know about this vehicle. However, today I wanted to give you another double helping of gameplay, just to give you more of an idea of what I was talking about with the idea of trying to either play this tank as a single shot vehicle or try and play it as an all-in autoloader. So in this kind of a scenario, I guess I could fire a third shot there against the SU-152, but I decide not to because I don't want to break into that 12-second reload on the third shot. Remember, it goes 8, 9, 12. And actually, what you're seeing here is the nerfed, well, not the nerfed, should we say the unbuffed version of this tank. When I first got this vehicle, it had 8 degrees of gun depression, and it had 8.5 seconds reload on its first shell. I think it was 10 on its second and 14 on its third, so it was even more brutal if you did decide to fully unload this magazine. And while they've buffed that a little bit now to the 8, 9, 12, it's still pretty killing with regards to your DPM if you do decide to finish that, well, fire the third. But of course, if you can pick up a kill and you know that you're not going to have to fire for the next few seconds, you should definitely do so, and that's why we decided to rip apart that T-34 too. And that's really where this tank is going to be super strong. It's this kind of like a double shot and then chill and wait for a reload kind of atmosphere to it. Now I fired one there, and I guess I was waiting for another shell to go back in. So I'm playing this tank in a sort of a single shot game mode right now. I decided to just fire and try to finish him off because I feel like I'm not going to have any opportunity to shoot anything for the next 30 seconds. So it's not as simple as just thinking, okay, do I want to play single shot? Do I want to try and load all of the shells? You've also got to be looking at your map and trying to figure out, am I going to get to shoot for the next 20-30 seconds afterwards? And in this case I thought, nah, I didn't realize there was going to be a sneaky tank destroyer hanging around at the back, so I just went for it anyway. Okay, so now we're going to be able to put hopefully a couple of rounds into the UDES. There you go, finish him off, and now we're going to make our way towards the Jackson. And while we've been very, very, very successful on this southeastern flank, this game is far from won. We're going to have to make our way into the town and absolutely crunch the rear of all of those mediums and heavies who are chilling out there. So a double tap, am I going to go for the third? I'm going to fire the third because I get to secure a kill, and again, I don't think I'm going to fire for another 20 to 30 seconds. So as I mentioned, this is the nerfed version of this vehicle, and I don't know whether it really needed a buff. When I was playing this tank in its non-buffed form, I thought it was very, very competitive. The differences were that you had a bit more dispersion, a bit more aim time, you turned a little slower, it did feel a little bit sluggish, so I can understand why. Oh yes, oh Mr. Scorpion, we're just pushing him and slowly grinding down his hit points. We apparently did 606 ramming damage to that fellow, and we put in a couple of shots as well to finish him off. Poor little Scorpion. The lightest armored tank in the game with 1mm of all-round armor. If you get an opportunity to ram one of those, it doesn't matter what tank you're playing, you're going to take it. Look, 606 damage dealt to the Scorpion with my ram, and I only took 21 in return. That's a bit of a no-brainer. And I'm going to do it again to another light tank, and that means that I get to save my shells, right? I only have to fire one, and so I can keep most of my rest of my shells to keep my DPM high enough to go after this T-3485M. Apparently Wargaming are just selling the T-3485M permanently now, which I'm not sure if I agree with, because that is one of the most punishing Tier 6 premium tanks, kind of a destroyer of, you know, the Tier 5 and Tier 6 matchmaker. So here's a good example of where I could unload all the shells, but I just decide that I would rather keep my DPM high right now. And if he's unable to get shells through the front of my tank because I'm angling it, or I guess because he's left the front of his tank out in the open, why not? Why not just go for it? Just take your time and then finish him off once you know you've got him down to where you don't have to fire all 3 rounds. It's okay to fire 1 and 2, but the third one, it's just too much of a loss in this tank to be able to do. So right now, you see me on 6 kills, getting a bit greedy, and I get myself into a serious issue here. And I'm putting 2 into the lever, and I'm about to connect my third, but the ARL finishes me off. So that was actually really greedy, sloppy play at the end of the game. I thought, this was one of the first times I played this tank, and I thought, let's just go on a bit of a joyride. But unfortunately for me, that joyride ended up in a disaster. But luckily enough, my team do manage to finish off the ARL and the Lerva at the end of the game, and we finish with a very respectable score. But this is just the first of a double helping, so let's take a look to see which map we're going to be playing on next. So this time we're rolling out on mines, and I have one goal, and that is to get on top of the hill and use what this tank used to have in the form of the 8 degrees of gun depression. I just love mines for getting above my opponents. If I can get a reasonably fast vehicle with gun depression up on the hill, I just know I'm going to be having a good game. And especially so when we're playing against higher tiered opponents, and we're going to have them probably making their way towards the cap circle along the eastern flank here, and just the opportunities to get shots down there, that's just, it's an absolute dream. It's a dream. And I'm going to have to bleed to be able to get on top of that slope, and oh my word, can you believe it? A WZ-131 fired a high explosive round into the side of our vehicle there. Wow, what crazy stuff. What does a WZ-131 use? I guess it's using... Can it use the 100mm, or is it just the 85mm that tank can use? Anyway, I won't be getting those 340 hit points back from a tier 7 light tank. Brutal stuff. But was it worth it? Well, we're just going to have to find out. Well, not if I'm going to be ricocheting shells like that. So we double tap a couple out. Don't want to fire the third. Pull back round the corner and just try and avoid some artillery right now, or just hope that the KV-3 keeps trundling on into a more silly location that we can take advantage of. So there's the KV-3, we put one into the back. I see that there's an artillery spotted now, but I'm not paying attention to it right up until now. Looks like the AMX 1390 misses the GW Panther, but the 1375 finishes them off with conjunction fire there from the French light tanks. Great stuff. That's one self-propelled gun we aren't going to have to worry about, but there are still 2 on the battlefield that could be slamming shells in. And oh yes, lovely. Right into the side of the Revelries here, and I decide to play single shot. I thought, why not? Wait for the shell to go back in, and mistake, right? And this is very important for me to highlight, is that while I was still trying to figure out how you're meant to play this tank, I do make mistakes. And you'll notice that I decide to this time to fire the 2 shells in, because I realize, wow, those buildings are a little bit sneaky and they can be taking your damage away. And so I think, as a rule of thumb, if you can fire 2 in this tank, you should. But I think you should only fire the 3rd if it's the case of you're securing a kill, or you really know that you have no opportunities to fire for the next 20 or 30 seconds. Anyway, we're up to 1,464 damage, not too bad. I'd also like to highlight that, as you can hear, I'm using my Italian mail crew here, and that's because this was on the first day that I received this tank on the European server, and so you are seeing it in its nerfed state. And so it doesn't have 9 degrees of gun depression, and its reload is a little bit worse. But oh yes, this is what we wanted. This is why we risked our hit points to come on top of the hill here, and right into the back of the Type 4 Heavy, one of the most dangerous tanks on the enemy team that we are going to have to deal with if we want to allow our heavies to start to advance along this eastern flank. But even with its buffed state now, the DPM on this tank is not outrageous. Tier 8 mediums are not special with regards to their damage per minute. And so it's taken us 3 minutes here to do our 2,000 damage at the start of this game. I don't quite have the gun depression with 8 degrees over here. If it was in its buff state, maybe we could if we had 9. Oh, just not quite enough. And I have to admit, that little buff to the tank really made a big difference in how comfortable it was to work ridge lines. You really notice the difference between 6 and 7, 7 and 8, and so on and so forth in World of Tanks. Just absolutely... Oh, there you go. Nice kill on a higher tiered self-propelled gun there. It's really noticeable, for example, the difference between an Object 430U or a T62A and an Object 140. That's going from 5 to 6, and even going up from something like an FV215B, which has got 7, up to a T125, which has got 8 like this, or at least in its nerf state it had, or its unbuffed state I should be calling it. It hasn't been nerfed, it's only been buffed so far. And considering this tank is now on full release on the Russian server, the statistics that I discussed on Friday, Wargaming don't nerf premium tanks, and so that is, things can only get better for this tank. Now, I'm not suggesting that they are going to get better for the vehicle, because frankly I think it's in a really good position right now. But Wargaming never nerfed premium vehicles. Ever since the Type 59, I think they've realized that if they nerf premium tanks, that their customers that got out their credit cards to pay for them are going to be rather unhappy. Anyway, great result there to slip a couple of shells at the tier 8 French autoloading heavy tank. And I'm just going to wait for them to come back. It's going to take me a little while though. Here we go, just waiting for it, and then I'm going to come around the corner and I'm going to go 1, and I don't quite find the shot. I had to use my repair kit and pull back. The AMX 1390 takes advantage of it and decides to finish him off. Good stuff. So I guess a bit of a misplay there by me to not fully commit around the corner. I do have the better unload speed, and I definitely could have confirmed the kill on that tank. Instead, I kind of went out half-assed. I didn't fully commit to the corner, and so it meant that the Samoa actually takes our tracks off, so a bit of a misplay there by me. Oh, hello Scorpion G, this is what I want. Lightly armoured tier 8 German premium tank destroyers. At long range, not so keen about engaging a Scorpion G, but when they're not looking at us, not too shabby. Alright, so I'm just wondering what that WZ-131 has done after he put that high explosive round into me at the start of the game. Seems to have gone off to try and harass artillery down the western flank. But I'm not going to complain as I finish off the Type 4 Heavy. And I think, can I slip down this slope anymore? And that's a bit of a question, isn't it? Have any of you made the mistake so far? Oh, GW Tiger Pig, gotta get him right out in the open. This is going to be an easy kill. When I fully aim, there you go. Ammo-racked as well. Unnecessary explosion there. But has any of you noticed how tricky it is to get down this part of mines now? It really does feel like this is an isolated hilltop that you're going to have to stay on. And there are very few locations which you can get down safely. And the kind of the risk of doing so is probably not worth it. But oh, there you go. Nice kill on the Tiger, 4,000 damage now, and 4 kills. In the previous round, we had, what, like 5,000 damage and 6 kills? Not too shabby. And I'm going to go on a bit of a magical, mystical tour. I'm going to speed the replay up here a little bit to see if we can fire high explosive rounds into the back of the Scorpion. Oh, I can't. And you can see I kind of wiggle my mouse there in despair or a little bit of frustration that we don't get to add to our kill tally, and I really wanted to see what these HE rounds would do to the back of a Scorpion. So first round, high caliber on Live Oaks, ace tanker and a top gun for the 6 kills. Bit of a greedy play at the end of the game there, but thankfully my team came through it. Because we didn't fire any premium rounds, nice 123,000 credits profit. Next up on mines, we get a Pascucci's medal for killing 2 self-propelled guns and a Confederate medal for damaging 6 tanks that were subsequently killed by our team. We don't get a high caliber because it looks like this host quite snuck it, but 4,175 damage and 4 kills, and I believe no premium rounds fired once again, but we did resupply some expensive consumables, but 94,000 credits profit, not too shabby. And so for me personally, the Progetto in its environment does look like a powerhouse, but I'd also like to stress this thing really does not take a hit very well. We blocked 240 in the first game and died, and we blocked nothing in the second game, and we're pretty low on hit points. And just to stress how bad the armor is on this tank, take a look at all of these games that I played, and look how much damage we blocked with our armor. 1 shell there for 240 and 1 shell here for 240. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. And so this thing is a glass cannon, and it is quite a fat glass cannon as well. And so think of it a bit like a Leopard or a Leopard prototype, or even arguably something like a Panther. And just because I've showed it performing in some favorable situations, don't think that the Progetto will not completely wilt under pressure. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And seeing how the T100 LT is currently top of the tree on the European server this month, I don't think there's a better time to work my way up the Soviet light tanks. And so come along right now if you want to see if it's a line that's possibly worth grinding during this top of the tree month, or alternatively, if you already have the vehicles already, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.